Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. Today, I've got another of my In the News shows, and I've got about a handful of companies to talk about. Before I get talking about the companies that are in the news, I wanted to talk a little bit about the price of gold because we're seeing I think, some pretty good indications of what's ahead of us in the not too distant future. On Friday, we saw a pretty good spike in pretty good move in the price of gold when Powell at the conference in Jackson Hole talked about making his reasons that the market perceives as they're going to start cutting rates. And this helped the price of gold get a nice move above the 50-day moving average that you can see here. And then today, or last night, we got news that Trump wants to fire one of the Fed uh, people, and that caused the price of the US dollar to go down. And we had a pretty good run again today in the price of gold. And so this is kind of a precursor of what's going to happen when the Federal Reserve actually does start cutting interest rates. Now, one could make an argument economically whether it's wise to cut interest rates or not. Basically, if you cut interest rates, you're throwing inflation under the bus, and it's around 3%, or you have to throw the economy under the bus, and it's 1.2%. So that's the decision that Powell and the other chair people have to make, or the other members of the FOMC have to make. Which one are they going to throw under the bus? And the chances of them throwing the economy and the jobs market under the bus and the stock market is probably unlikely. So they're going to throw inflation under the bus, but it's already at 3%. You got tariffs that are going to start kicking in as they've worked their way through the supply chain and they're being implemented. And that tax is going to be paid by the consumers and the companies. And that's going to cause inflation to go up higher. Then you've got to consider, well, what's this going to do to the US dollar? If the US dollar is down, well, then inflation is also up because they import so much. And so the there's a lot of inflationary winds blowing that suggests that it could get closer to 4% than 3% over the next year. And so that's pretty steep inflation, considering it's been so, what was supposed to be transitory ended up being much less than transitory, the opposite of transitory. And now we're getting a second wave that's kicking in. But nonetheless, the jobs market is also stalling. And if the jobs market stalls, the economy stalls, and then you got a recession. And it certainly looks like it's going to go towards a recession. And that's why I think that Powell is ready to relent to the constant pressure of Trump, who wants these interest rates back to the free money era, which was very good for inflation, to kick up inflation. But that's what he wants, and that's looking like what he's going to get. And as you can see here, I'll pull up the US dollar chart. And it also came under pressure on Friday and then a little bit of pressure today. And it certainly looks like it could break below that 50-day moving average and start trending even lower as we get closer to the trepidation of the Fed move in September. Now, I also think that we'll get sort of fits and starts, like if we get information that suggests that inflation is coming down or that the economy is, or the jobs are stronger. This could set the market into a flip-flop as to whether the Fed is actually going to cut rates. I think ultimately they are, and that's going to be bearish for the price of the US dollar, which is bullish for gold and silver, other commodities. Plus, I really think we're in the early stages or probably past the first inning of stagflation starting to become problematic. If you get the economy getting down towards a recession or slightly above a recession or at a recession or into a recession, well, and you've got over 3% inflation, well, now you've got the kind of stagflation that gets everybody's attention. Right now, it's not getting as much attention, although I think it should, because the economy is still not in a recession. So people still see growth and they figure, oh, maybe the growth will outweigh the inflation. And but when the backdrop to all this is the death spiral of debt that's getting worse, which is also more inflationary. So there's a lot of stagflationary pressures coming up. And I think the best parking spot for investors is in the metals, especially gold and silver. But if the US dollar goes down like I think it could, then, copper, platinum, palladium, even the much hated oil right now could see a stronger market. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about it because I see the Powell meeting at the Jackson Hole commentary, and then this firing of Trump's trying to fire the one of the Fed members as an indicator of what's going to happen when the Fed does start to cut interest rates. And again, I think it's going to put pressure on the US dollar to go down and pressure on gold and silver to go up. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Let's get into some news. Companies in the news. One of them is my highest conviction uh, gold explorer with an important discovery pick, which is Goliath Resources. They announced the headline was Goliath intersects 10.62 grams per ton of gold over 22.82 meters. Drilling maintains a 100% hit rate. 95% of the holes contain visible gold. It remains wide open at the Sherbet discovery, which is part of the Gold Digger property in the Golden Triangle of British Columbia. Um, One of the highlights is that drilling at Sherbet has hit visible gold with the naked eye in three distinct rock packages. Those include the quartz, sulfide, breccias, stockwork, or the stacked veins, if you will. Other is the reduced intrusion related gold dikes and the altered breccia. So you've got visible gold in all three rock packages. And this map down here shows you all the locations of drill holes and where the visible gold is in the various different drill holes. Uh, they've completed 65 holes for 45,000 meters in 2025, and they got 50 more holes to do. The plan is to do 60,000 meters this drilling season. They got about another 4 weeks or so left in the season, and then they'll have lots of results because they've only assayed and reported 10 holes so far this year, and they got another 55 that are already to be assayed, and then they got another 50 holes to go into the lab for assaying. This image here really speaks volumes to me about how special this project is, and it very well could be the most important high-grade gold discovery in the Golden Triangle since the Eskay Creek discovery. And the distribution of the visible gold in the holes is quite spectacular. As you can see, it starts down here and goes all the way up to the top of the mountain. And even in these holes over here, you've got visible gold. So the chances are that it continues for, you're looking at probably close to 2,000 meters from side to side, and probably another six or 700 meters this way. So just a phenomenal amount of visible gold in the drill holes. And this is an important statistic here too. Since drilling started in 2021, many holes have returned impressive metal factors. This is where you multiply the grams per ton by the meters. A good rule of thumb is that anything over like 80, 75, 80 gram meters is really good. It's actually usually when you find a high propensity of a high number of those, it's in mines. So that's why that's an important statistic. And they talk about 9 holes delivering greater than 200 gram meters and up to 1,346 gram meters. 11 holes are greater than 150 gram meters. 25 holes are greater than 100 gram meters, 31 holes are greater than 75 gram meters, and 61 holes are greater than 50 gram meters at the Sherbet discovery. And that's where you see all of this visible gold. That's what generates those kind of grades. The Sherbet discovery has widespread drill holes over 1.8 kilometers square, or greater than half the size of Central Park in New York City, returning high metal factors, showing it has the potential to be one of the most important high-grade gold discoveries in the Golden Triangle since the Eskay Creek discovery. Then they give you the details, 10 grams over 22.82 meters or 242 gram meters. Then they give you the breakdowns with more details on the various different drill holes. They show you in this news release some locations of visible gold. This is just one hole, and it's got multiple locations of visible gold. Here's another one. This is in the altered andesite. This is the altered breccia, so to speak, or no, sorry, this is the altered andesite, and you can see visible gold in that as well. So they're getting it in multiple rock packages, which is indicative of the potential for this to have a very powerful source that has put all of this visible gold into these various rock packages. Here's some more visible gold in another hole that had 11.03 grams over 5.7 meters. This is within the Bonanza shear zone. Where was this one? This was in the altered andesite, as I said earlier. This one was in the quartz sulfide veins. So as you can see, it's into multiple rock packages, the visible gold that returns high grade time after time, 10 grams over 5 meters in the altered andesite. They give you another hole here, more visible gold. It just, like they say, 95% of the holes are hitting visible gold in them. That's why you get that distribution in the map that I showed you earlier. High-grade gold has been identified in 3 distinct rock packages. This includes the gently dipping gold-rich stacked veins, the gold-rich reduced intrusive related gold, or RIRG dikes. These are vertical, so the veins are like a stacked sheets or stacked like layers in a cake, and then coming up vertically through them is these reduced intrusion, vertical reduced intrusion related dikes. And where they meet, the cross section is where one so far gold, it's being called the Goldilocks zone, has been found. And then recently, this year, they discovered broad gold-rich zones in the altered breccia. So, it doesn't really matter what rock package, something has pumped that visible gold up into all the various rock packages. They give you highlights of what the drilling program was all about this year. I'll leave you to read that. I will read off a couple quotes here because they give you some good information. One of them is from Dr. Quentin Henney, who is the geological and technical advisor to Crescat, which is a strategic investor in Goliath. He stated in a quote, Goliath's exploration team, having synthesized a detailed model of the Sherbet high-grade mineralizing system after the 2024 season, was thoroughly prepared to undertake an aggressive, highly focused drill program this season. The success rate of mineralized intercepts encountered thus far is remarkable, and now we see the fruits of this work in the form of exceptional assays coming back from every hole. Sherbet is now continually delivering strong results, a trend I expect to continue given this update, end quote. Then Roger Rasmus, who is the founder and CEO of Goliath, states, and I quote, the more we drill at Sherbet, the better it gets with pleasant surprises along the way, which is a good rule of thumb about how new discoveries can become future mines. Most notably, the Sherbet discovery has widespread drill holes with gold visible to the naked eye and several containing high gram meter assays. It is becoming abundantly clear to our team that Sherbet is emerging as the most important grassroots high-grade gold discoveries in the Golden Triangle of British Columbia since the Eskay Creek discovery. We still have many holes with assays pending and are progressing toward completing our up to 60,000 meter drill program in 2025. This year's drilling campaign is shaping up to be our most impressive yet at the Sherbet high-grade gold discovery. At this point, we have only reported 7 holes of the 115 planned holes for 2025. We look forward to substantial assay news flow from this year's aggressive drilling program. So as you can see, Dr. Henney is quite taken aback by the program and its early success. Roger Rasmus is talking about how it's progressing towards a future mine. I think that's the path it's on. And he talks about all the visible gold, the high gram meters, that it's becoming one of the most important discoveries in the Golden Triangle since the great Eskay Creek discovery, and lots of holes pending. So that's the news. And as I said, with all the drilling that they've done and the fact that they keep hitting visible gold in 95% of the holes, I think they're going to have a lot of great news to talk about as they progress through these. You can see the 2025 drilling traces are all of this blue stuff is being drilled this year. So a lot of holes going in and a lot more data to come. Before I move on to the next company, I'll have a look at their stock chart. And today they closed up 2.33% or 5 cents a share to $2.20. They had a very big run here. This was on the news of the first Goldilocks discovery made on the property. I say first purposefully because I think that they're going to find more of these, and there could be a lot of them because of the fact that the layers of veins that are stacked is like a 10 or 11 layer cake. And then there's like 14 of these reduced intrusion related dikes coming up vertically through there. So at each of those locations, you could have a Goldilocks zone. And that gets very exciting when you start to extrapolate out how much gold, super high grade gold, could be contained in those Goldilocks zones. So that's what caused the big run. Then they were awaiting drilling. When it started to look closer to the drilling season, it started to trend upwards again. And lately, it's kind of dipped down below that 50-day moving average. But I think that with all the news coming, that it's shaping up to have a significant breakout. I hope it does because I'm a shareholder of the company and always makes me happy when my stocks are going up in value. And again, I think they've got a tremendous discovery here that just keeps getting better. The more geology, the more drill holes, the more science they throw at it, it just gets better and better and better. And that's what you see when in a mine that gets developed into a mine is every project starts out with a really big geochemical anomaly or a really big geophysical anomaly, but when you put the truth machine on it, you start drilling holes, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. This one's going the other way. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And again, I stress that they keep getting visible gold all over the place in this mountain, and I'm even ready to start calling it a golden mountain. Uh, so there you go. That's the Goliath news today. Another company that had news out, where I'm also a shareholder, is Kirkland. Just let me get this up here for you. Once my computer cooperates with me, let me move this down a little bit. There we go. So Kirkland Lake Discoveries expands mineralized system with semi-massive to massive sulfide intersections in three additional holes at the KL West property. They're pleased to report recent drilling at the KL West property has expanded the mineralized system with three additional holes intersecting semi-massive to massive sulfides. The results confirm the role of the Winnie Pluton as a key driver of mineralization and represents a significant advance in the company's intrusive related exploration model across a district scale land position. They've got some maps that give you pictures of what all this means, and I'll get to those shortly. Three additional holes near KLD 2528 cut broad zones of alteration with disseminated sulfides haloing semi-massive to massive sulfide mineralization. KLD 2537 intersected mineralization at 97.5 meters downhole, demonstrating the system's continuity at depth. Although that depth is pretty shallow, it's really close to the surface, especially when you factor in its angled hole. So the vertical depth is even less than that. All 1,011 samples from the program have been submitted for assay and are pending. Drilling validates the Winnie Pluton's role as a key driver of mineralization, further supporting KLDC's intrusive related model. They talk the management commentary from Stefan Schlepowitz. I think I brutalized his name. I'm sorry, Stefan. I'll have to get you to teach me how to say it properly next interview I do with you. He's the CEO, and he stated, and I quote, the consistency of alteration patterns and sulfide mineralization styles across multiple holes has validated our intrusive related model and demonstrated the robust nature of this system. What we're observing represents a significant departure from the limited historical interpretation. The geological end of evidence indicates the Winnie shaft historically captured only the uppermost expression of a much larger intrusive driven system. The systematic alteration halos, multiple mineralization styles, and depth continuity we've intersected are characteristics of the major intrusive related deposits that have defined production in the Abitibi. With our 40,000 hectare land position encompassing the entire 17-kilometer Winnie Pluton contact, we have established a substantial exploration target with the geological characteristics consistent with district scale mineralizing systems, end quote. So here they give you some interesting information about how their model is evolving. And what they talk about is that originally it was explored as a volcanogenic massive sulfide system. So meaning that, like you think of volcanoes coming up, little volcanoes, and they create these VMS deposits, which is an interesting concept. But now it's evolving into the technical team, believing that the mineralization is more likely part of an intrusive related system with heat and fluids from the Winnie Pluton driving mineral deposition. Unlike layered seafloor style VMS deposits, intrusive systems typically form extensive, cohesive zones of mineralization that extend to significant depths and across wide contact zones. This program represents the first test of this model. So in the white area here is what they call the Winnie Pluton. Okay. And then you'll notice that wrapping all the way around it is a series of geophysical anomalies. Now, when I look at geophysical anomalies, I'm always suspect as to whether they're geofantasy or georeality. And the way you tell the difference is with the drilling, the truth machine, as it's called. If the truth machine confirms what you're seeing with the geophysics, then you got some geomagic. And I think that that's what they have here. You'll notice that just outside of this intrusive complex, is where at the contact where you're getting the mag anomalies. Okay, and there is mineral occurrences in all of these yellow diamonds outside of that. And these are copper intrusive related, and these are the drill collars where they put drill holes down. Okay, so that's the regional magnetic survey. So you can see the intrusive complex is not magnetic, and yet what's around it is magnetic. Now, it's important to emphasize that that geophysics are good at picking up sulfides. So this wrapping around of all these geophysical anomalies is quite exciting. They give you some drill program observations, drill scale context and exploration advancement. Well, if you're starting to look at something that is the perimeter of a 17-kilometer intrusive, well, you could have a lot there. And they even talk about that earlier, where they talk about them being extensive, cohesive zones of mineralization that extend to significant depth and across wide contact zones. Here you've got a massively wide contact zone and they're getting sulfides. That's what you want to see in this kind of a system. District scale context. So they give you some of the ideas of what it could mean when they talk about a district scale. Here is your sulfides. Here is some massive sulfides. Over here, you might not be able to see it well, but I can certainly see it on my computer. You can see it when you go into the news release and you'll see semi-massive sulfides. And there's even some disseminated sulfides over here. And this is a very nice core sample of semi-massive to massive pyrite, chalcopyrite, and silicified basalts. Again, here you see massive sulfides in this intersection, and it's only 40 meters down hole. And again, with the right kind of minerals in it. And so that's what you want to see. This is a strongly silicified and mineralized basalt with very fine disseminated pyrite and chalcopyrite. And you can just see little flickers of the sulfides in this hole, but that very well could mean you're just on the edge of something more important. So that one's exciting as well. And here you see massive hornblende syenite with brecciated smoky quartz veins. So another indicator of the how good this system is. Here again, here's another sample of semi-massive to massive sphalerite rimmed with pyrite, chalcopyrite, quartz carbonate veinlets, and massive clots of magnetite. This brassy colored stuff here, that's your sulfides. The white stuff is your quartz. And so that's what you want to see. I'm having a little harder time seeing the magnetite, but they talk about it being in there as well. In here is an internal interval of silicified mafic volcanics with pyrite, chalcopyrite, and quartz carbonate veins within an intrusive syenite dike. So again, this brassy colored stuff is your sulfides, and the white is your quartz. And so, yeah, they're getting a lot. And here's another one. Here's some massive sulfide, and I believe that this is some magnetite over here, maybe oxidized magnetite, and it says a raft of mafic volcanics with pervasive chalcopyrite within a highly altered syenite with chalcopyrite. So again, you're seeing a lot of sulfides in the first few holes in this system. Here's another one, massive magnetite, pyrite, and chalcopyrite. So look at these nice chunks of sulfides here and some more over here and over here. You can't see it as well in this one, but you've got some semi-massive to massive pyrite with chalcopyrite in this brassy colored stuff here. Again, if you can't see it in my chat here, you go to their website and look for the news release, and you'll be able to see it a lot better. So then they get into where this was drilled. They got one hole going this direction from the same setup, one going this direction. These white dots with the black in the middle is the where the drill hole collars are, and the black represents the drill hole where it's gone. Here you've got four holes going this way, one going this way. So these are testing these magnetic anomalies. Um, this one is, they're probably considering this three-dimensionally. Like, this is your top-down view of it. Now, it's not going to look, could get wider as you go deeper. So sometimes that's why they go in those directions. This one is clearly, these four holes are clearly going after this magnetic anomaly right here. Here's some of the recent holes. Here's another hole that they got in there. So even they're testing some of these mag highs, or sorry, mag lows, and who knows what's underneath that. That's why you drill those holes. That's why you do exploration drilling, my friends. And this company does a really good job of, they talk about their news release in a video. So that's also linked in this news release. So that's the KLDC, Kirkland Lake Discoveries Corp, a news release. Let's have a quick look at their stock chart. It had a very nice move today, KLDC, and there we go. And I'll move this up here. They were up 25% today, up 4 cents to 20 cents. What has caused this upwards movement is when they've started to announce the visible, what they're seeing in the drill core. They haven't had the assay results yet, but massive sulfides, semi-massive sulfides, even disseminated sulfides are easy to see by the geologists when they're logging the core. So that's why they put out these news releases showing the massive sulfides or the various sulfides from massive, semi-massive, and disseminated. And as they've been showing that, their stock has come up quite dramatically from these lows of only a few cents a share, went through a golden cross here, and is trading quite aggressively above the 50-day moving average. And the trajectory of the 50-day moving average is extremely bullish. What this is telling you from a technical analyst's view is that it's predicting that they've got something really great here that will drive it much higher. when they put out those assay results and do more drilling. So I'm really excited about this company, and that's their story. All right, now we're going to talk about Luca Mining Corp. This is another pick in the report. Over the last month or so, I started picking this company. Luca Mining Corp reports second quarter 2025 results. Now, this company is what in my group that I call junior gold miners. Okay. I want you to keep that in context because junior gold miners are different than mid tiers and majors. The mid tiers and majors, they have multiple projects and everything's firing on all cylinders, whereas junior gold miners, they're working out the kinks in their operation. So they announced that they reported operational and financial results for the second quarter ended June the 30th, 2025. The quarter was highlighted by strong throughput, increased production, and a continued ramp up at the Tahuehueto. I think I said that. My Spanish isn't all that great. Partly offset by lower precious metal grades and higher sustaining capital investments as the company advances key underground development and exploration programs. So they're producing and they're using the money from that to keep building to ramp things up. So keep that in context. They talk about generating revenue of $36 million US, an increase of 102% over Q2 2024. They delivered a record revenue of 75 million for the first half of the year. Revenue growth was driven by gold equivalent production of 17,861 ounces in Q2 and 39,154 ounces in the first half of 2025, supported by continued ramp up and strong plant availability at Campo Morado. They talk about their adjusted EBITDA. I'm not going to go into that. Net free cash flow changes was negative 4.5 million, mainly due to increased development and exploration spending in the quarter, but remains positive for the first half of 2025 at US 4.9 million. So again, they're using the free cash flow from their operations to ramp it up. Really important stuff. Okay, so Don Barnholden, he is the CEO of Luca. He stated, and I quote, "This quarter was a quarter of consolidation for Luca with record first half revenue, double-digit production growth, reduction of our debt by 1.5 million, and meaningful cash generation from operations. As we continue to invest heavily in development and exploration to position for future profitability, our operations are already delivering strong financial performance. We continue to position our assets for long-term success as we build Luca into a mid-tier production company." End quote. Then they give you all the details about the strategic development and exploration to support their long-term growth plans. They give you the second quarter highlights and they break down the data for you. I would advise you to go to their website to see that. They give you production information and exploration work that they're doing. So a lot of really good and outlook and a lot of really good information in here that I advise you to, when doing your homework, that should always be part of your homework, is to read over the news releases. So let's go to their stock chart. And earlier I tried to emphasize keeping things into context, and here's why. If you just look at the stock performance and you just look at the raw numbers, you might get thinking that you don't want to own the stock, which is why it was down 5.78%. But I didn't pick this company for a one quarter kind of reason. I picked it because as their CEO stated, they're moving towards being a mid-tier producer. Right now, they're just a junior gold producer that's ramping up operations. So there is reinvestment of the money to ramp things up, and that can affect your bottom line. And the stock sold off today, but I think that's unwarranted. I think it's more important to look at where they've been over the last, less than a year. They were down to 21 cents, and now they're trading at $1.63, even after being down 10 cents today. They got a great time to be growing a junior gold miner into a mid-tier with the price of gold doing what it's doing. And I like to see exactly this is what you want a junior gold miner to do: make money so they can spend money to ramp up production. Now, when you take that off the bottom line, it doesn't look so good, but they're using that money to grow into a mid-tier producer. And that's what this story is about for me. And after its golden cross back here in April, it's been doing very well. And, it has dipped below the 50-day moving average a couple times up here, one blip here, a little bit here, and a little bit today. But I very much think that that could likely be just a blip below the 50-day. And I think gold is ready to rally. I think it's primed to rally. So that's good for gold stocks. All right. The next company I have for us today, oh, that's Luca. Now I want to talk about Foran Mining. I just picked them yesterday, and today they had a good news release out, so I got pretty lucky with my timing there. Foran surpasses key milestone as McIlvenna Bay construction advances in July of 2025. Construction progress crosses 50% completion threshold, tracking to plan with project on time and on budget. These are the things you want to hear when you're building a new mine. They reported the construction progress at its 100% owned McIlvenna Bay project in Saskatchewan has surpassed the 50% completion milestone. The project remains on budget, aligned with the revised capital estimate disclosed in the May 13th, 2025 press release, and on schedule with commercial production targeted for mid-2026. Now, that's full commercial production, so you ramp up to that full commercial production. So stay tuned because they're getting really close to producing metals out of their mine. They outline key achievements and highlights for the month of July, and they've got several of them. Very little lost time incidents. Overall construction progress, as they said, reached 50%, marking a key milestone at the project past the halfway point toward completion. Commercial production remains on track for mid-2026, with the project continuing to track in line with the revised capital estimate disclosed in the May 13th press release. Surface construction advancement for July represents the greatest monthly construction progress achieved to date. Achieved key milestones, including ball mill lining completion, significant progress with structural steel and concrete works, installation of flotation cells, and started erecting structural steel for the conveyor towers, tailings handling, and paste backfill structure. Underground development advanced approximately 570 meters in July, representing the highest single month underground development meterage to date. Daily development rates remain steady at nearly 20 meters per day, with 2 days of planned downtime during the month to accommodate the underground fresh air raise vent changeover. Approximately 28,000 tons were added to the surface ore stockpile over the month for a total ore inventory of approximately 90,000 tons at month end. equal to more than 18 days of steady state production at design throughput of 4,900 tons per day for phase one operations. So they're getting that material out and getting it ready to go through the plant once they get that up and running. So Dan Meyerson, who's the executive chairman and CEO of Foran, commented, and I quote, surpassing the halfway point of construction is an incredible milestone, and I'm extremely proud of the relentless determination and operational excellence shown by our team. We believe that the current market disconnect between perceived risk and actual risk represents or presents a compelling opportunity for investors, and we expect this gap to narrow before bringing McIlvenna Bay into production. Our focus remains on disciplined execution and long-term value creation, supported by consistent, transparent updates as we advance construction, and today's announcement reinforces that both schedule and budget remain firmly on track. We appreciate the continued support of our partners and stakeholders as we advance a long-life, scalable asset and help define the next chapter in the evolution of Canada's critical minerals industry, end quote. Very good information in there, a whole lot more information in the news release that I advise you to read. And also, as I said, I talked about them on my show yesterday because I just made them a brand new pick in my report. So the timing was quite good for me on that because the next day they had news out. All right, so let's take a look at their stock chart. Now, as is often the case, um, they were up 18 cents today, or 6.27% to $3.05. So even my timing was good for the stock performance today. As they're going through the construction, some people get antsy and they don't want to keep holding on and they sell it down. And that's why I was happy to recently add them, because if you got to go back almost a couple years to see the last opportunity you had to buy them at this level. And why I'm so excited about that is I often talk about the Lassonde curve, and there's two big peaks, big run-ups in stock valuation in a life of a mining company. One is upon exploration success. That's called the left side of the Lassonde curve. And then the right side of the Lassonde curve is when they start mining a discovery. Now, at the end of the development discount window, which is in between those two run-ups, you get at the end of the development discount window, you get into what I call the sweet spot of the right side of the Lassonde curve. They're at that now, and they're only months away from bringing this into production. Pierre Lassonde himself likes to look for that, and he's a shareholder of this company, as is Agnico Eagle. And Agnico Eagle made their what really turned them into Agnico Eagle we know today was their LaRonde mine. And this has a lot of similarities to that. And I think it's a hell of an indicator of the quality of the project when Agnico Eagle, that was made off of a similar asset like this, is a big shareholder in this company. So all of those things combined are why I was happy to add them onto my list of picks. And this was very good news today. It helped move the stock above the 50-day moving average. And what I expect to see happen is the 50-day moving average flattens out and starts to move in the positive direction, and it makes a golden cross. I think that golden cross is still a few months away, but that just so happens to coincide with when they will start producing copper and other metals from this mine. And so I really like the setup for Foran. They're an advanced stage development company. that's on the cusp of bringing their project into production. And that is the thesis of why I picked them now. All right. Now, this company is not a pick of mine, but I'm going to talk about it today because I have another pick called Golden Cross that I recently started featuring in my reports. And in fact, just yesterday I had an interview with their CEO that you can find on my YouTube channel or on my Substack. Substack is rocksandstocks.substack.com. On YouTube, just look for Rocks and Stock News. So why do I want to talk about Southern Cross Gold? Well, two reasons. One, pretty good chance I'm going to make them a pick. Secondly, they have the property immediately south of one of my other picks called Golden Cross. And there's some important information in this news release that I want to show you because their Golden Cross is basically looking for a look-alike of what Southern Cross has. And Southern Cross has a $1.5 billion valuation because of how good this project is. And Golden Cross is just getting started and has a very tiny valuation relative to Southern Cross. And I think they could have a very spectacular discovery uh, potential on their hands. All right. So Southern Cross Gold extends mineralization to the west and depth with multiple high-grade intersections at Golden Dyke. Results include a half a meter at 164 grams of gold equivalent. That includes 96.8 grams per ton of gold and 28.2% of antimony. They announced results from 4 diamond drill holes from the Golden Dyke prospect at the 100% owned Sunday Creek Gold Antimony Project in Victoria, and that's in Australia. 4 key points. Golden Dyke increased in size. They give you the details. Very high grade gold hits. That's 164 grams. That's pretty high grade. That's what you could call bonanza grade if the regulatory bodies didn't like you using that term. I'll get into that some other time about how silly I think that is because basically if you got high grade, let's say it's a half an ounce to an ounce, well, what do you call it when you got multiple ounces? Very, very high grade? I call it bonanza grade because that's the industry, what people in the industry call it. Infill drilling proves continuity. That's another thing you want to see in a high grade system or in any system. And record antimony adds significant value. Antimony is becoming an important commodity these days. And it's good to have that combination, especially when it's so high, like 48% of it is antimony. All right, Michael Hansen, who's the president and CEO, he stated, and I quote, the Golden Dyke system continues to grow in all directions, with our latest drilling extending mineralization both laterally and at depth while revealing a new high-grade zones. SDDSC 168W1. I might have to tell those guys to put smaller names. There's a lot of name on that drill hole. Has pushed the western side of the Golden Dyke vertically to 560 meters below surface, representing one of our deepest east-west holes and delivering spectacular intercepts, including 164 grams per ton of gold equivalent over a half a meter and 170 grams per ton gold equivalent over 0.2 meters. While successfully extended the system westward towards Christina by 50 meters, intercepting 9 vein sets, including 2 previously unknown structures outside our current exploration target, with mineralization from as shallow as 50 meters below surface, returning impressive widths such as 11.6 meters at 3.4 grams per ton of gold. Equally important, our strategic infill drilling is building tremendous confidence in the continuity and tenor of the system. Hole 171 infilled a gap of approximately 100 meters to 110 meters of vertical spacing between the previous holes and again successfully confirmed the grade continuity across Golden Dyke. This was demonstrated by intercepts including zero point 0.9 meter at 68 grams of gold equivalent, 4.2 meters at 4.5 grams per ton gold equivalent, and 2.8 meters at 13.7 grams per ton gold equivalent, while also discovering high-grade mineralization and previously unmodeled vein set. The combination of consistent expansion success, high-grade intercepts, broader mineralized zones, and confirmed continuity from infill drilling reinforces our conviction that the Sunday Creek gold antimony system has substantial growth potential as we continue to systematically test and expand the known mineralized corridor. End quote. Then they give you a bunch of details about the drilling. I wanted to get down, look at, I mean, this thing is just loaded up with, that's the nature of these orogenic gold systems. They tend to be narrow, high, super high grade and vertically dipping. And that's what they're finding. Not far from one of the great orogenic gold mines, which is the Fosterville mine in Australia. This is a lot of holes with high grade in it. That's exactly what you want to see. Now down here are some real cool maps. I'll just zoom down to them. Okay, so here is they call it like rungs of a ladder. These vein sets that all seem to go parallel to each other, and there's just a massive amount of them. All of these purple dots that you can sort of see. I hope you can see them in uh, on my screen, but if you don't, go to their website. The reds and the purples are what you're looking for, and here is more. This is the drill progress, so they give you an idea of all the drilling they're doing. Here you can see a cross section, so you're looking at the side of it like you've cut half of a cake and you're looking at the side of the cake. And as you can see, look at the continuity of this high grade shoot here called Apollo. Just hole after hole of intersections of high grade. Same thing can be said for this. Now, where it goes here, they call it open. Certainly looks open to me. In fact, I think this whole thing is open. You got to remember, in these orogenic gold systems, they can have complex faulting at depth. And so you get these cracks in the earth that can shift things around. So you just got to keep pounding away at holes to find where everything is going. And here, this map actually shows you. Here's the surface expressions of a series of faults or cracks in the earth. And this is exactly what you want to see in a orogenic gold system because the fluids come from very deep in the crust, maybe 10,000 meters or more, and they need a path of least resistance for those fluids that carry the gold to make their way up towards the surface. And that's these faults and cracks or cracks in the earth that are giving a pathway for the fluids that carry the gold to make their way up to surface. So it makes for complexity, but complexity is good. That's what you want to see in these kind of systems. So up here you can see this is the Great Fosterville mine. That's 8.2 million ounces of mining that is very high grade, very profitable in orogenic gold veins that are steeply dipping and narrow. Costerfield is another one that you just sort of follow this trend. Here you find Sunday Creek, and you don't see it here because they don't have it. But my other pick called Golden Cross is all this white stuff is all part of Golden Cross's ground. So as you can see, you're in a corridor there with the right kind of rocks, the right age of rocks, the right structural story, and high grade gold. So this whole corridor is quite an impressive corridor. And Sunday Creek is down here, and my Golden Cross is drilling up in here, right about here actually, or here somewhere, right in about here, I would think. Okay, so then they give you more details, so you can look at that on the news release. So I wanted to show you some of those maps because it gives you an idea of how impressive this area is and the discovery that Southern Cross has and the drilling that's happening right beside them for another of my picks called Golden Eagle or Golden Cross, sorry. That's a Freudian slip, actually. There was a Golden Eagle that I picked many years ago, and I ended up getting bought out for $1.5 billion. So I guess I had a little Freudian slip there, SXGC. So let's have a look at Southern Cross's gold, their performance. So they've been publicly trading for not even a year yet, since July, June-ish, July of 2024. Stock's been performing very well because they got a great discovery. This dip down here is why I am, as of right this moment, going to make them a pick in my report. And they've had a little breakout here above the 50-day moving average. I always like to see after a consolidation when a stock starts trending upwards and goes through the 50-day moving average. And so that's why I'm going to make them a pick as of today. So now I can follow Southern Cross very closely and Golden Cross, my two picks in Australia. I hope those two picks turn out to be big winners because I think they could. All right, let's stop the share here. So there you go, folks. That's my In the News show for today is the Tuesday, August the 26th. I'm a little bit surprised because a lot of times at the last 10 days or so of a summer, the news can slow down, but it's not this year. The news is going out lots. The financings are happening throughout the summer at a rate that I haven't seen in a long, long time. The stocks of the gold stocks, while gold is kind of going sideways and basing and sort of primed to go up again into new record highs, the gold stocks are actually outperforming. That tells me that the generalist investors are starting to get into the gold stocks. Pay attention, folks. It's not just the retail generalists, it's the institutions as well that are helping do these big financings that I keep seeing and talking about in my reports. So, yeah, we're heading into a really good end of 2025 after summer is over and everybody gets back to work in about a week or so. As always, do your homework, speak with your financial advisors. I stress that homework because I am only an idea generator. I use my 32 years of experience in this business and having worked with very talented geologists, geophysicists, geochemists, and I've created my own filter, but that's my filter. I give you my interpretation of what these companies look like through my crystal ball, if you will. But you have your own crystal ball. You got to do your own homework. Go to their website, see their news releases, be informed. I really believe that it doesn't matter which sector you're investing in. The more you understand the sector and the more you understand the companies that you're investing in, the more likely you are to make logical uh, investment decisions and not emotional ones that are get you excited when stocks go up, get you depressed when they go down, and you make these emotional decisions that is a recipe for disaster in any sector. And so do that homework. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.